right, so we're checking out this Norm Macdonald clip here, and it's on the Joe Rogan podcast. Norm was one of the funniest guys ever. Let's get into it. Let's go.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Show, probably, yeah.
Okay. The difference is that how many people are fans and how many people are just flipping through channels.
Because there's nothing else on.
Yeah.
I've seen episodes of The View. I've watched
I bet you have.
I definitely have. Like when Norm was on. Did you see when Norm
I
was
watched it
on?
when Donald Trump Jr.
That
was on.
was the
That
best.
was the best
Norm
episode
Macdonald
of
What
The
did
View.
Norm do with them?
Norm
What did
Macdonald
Norm
do?
says
is the greatest.
Norm at one point says, "I've never had consensual sex with a woman."
See what they do.
This is the
No. He just got tripped up in his words, and he was on this apology tour, and he was like,
it was right as it set the stage. It's right as his Netflix show is about to air, and he gets in big trouble because he's on Stern.
No. Hold on. Start it over. He defends Louis first.
Okay, yeah.
Louis
yeah.
and Roseanne.
And Roseanne. Then he goes on Stern.
And when he's on Stern, instead of saying like you'd have to be retarded to laugh at this or to think this, he'd be like, you'd have to have Down syndrome. So he keeps saying
He thinks that's better because he thinks Down syndrome is okay to say, but retarded is bad because it's the R word.
Right.
So he's like,
he pinpoints.
so he says it a
God,
bunch,
Norm.
and they're about to launch the show. So of course, everybody involved is like panicking. Like you need to make it clear you have a new show launching. You got it. So he goes on The View and he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah.
Louis. I don't defend
And
Louis.
he is. I'm not, like, you can mute this and watch this.
I have to see the clip.
He is eating mints, like and popping them in his mouth.
Joe, he's literally eating mints.
And shaking, it's
To,
like
like, fill
shaking
up
them
on.
in his hand. He's like, yeah, I feel real bad about that. And he's like,
Why are they talking about Louis? I've never even had consensual sex with a girl. And they're like, Norm, you've never had consensual sex with a girl? He goes, why would I? And they're like, no, but I think you're misspeaking, Norm.
and then you see him like you're on daytime. And he's like, yeah. So I feel real bad about that.
He's a fucking wild man.
He
He
is
is,
the
man.
best.
He
Do you
is
remember?
such a wild man.
my
I was
goodness.
just talking to Adam.
And I got so much to check out from him because, I only know him from playing like the same character in every movie, especially a lot of Adam Sandler movies and things of that nature. And that's what I know him from. I don't know him from stand-up besides what I've reacted to on my channel. So I didn't know the genius behind Norm Macdonald all this time. Even his interviews are hilarious.
He's like, yeah. So I feel real bad about that.
He's a fucking wild man.
He is
is,
the
man.
best.
He
Do you
is
remember?
such a wild man.
I was just talking to Adam about this. Do you remember the time you came? We can't tell the full story because I think Norm wouldn't be comfortable with it. But do you remember the time right before the election where you had a vape pen that was really strong and Norm came back? And
Yes.
He's like, do you remember what he
Yes.
said to us?
No, what did he say?
Oh, I wish I could say it out loud.
Okay, let's
Okay.
say it,
It
dude.
was the best. It was like it was the
I got
funniest.
him fucked up. He was not ready. I got him fucked up.
I've smoked weed before.
Right before this,
Yeah, well, guys like that don't smoke weed a lot. They just do it occasionally. They
Yeah.
think they remember what weed is.
right.
This weed that they're fucking with today is a different animal. It's
Yeah.
just it's too in the pen is so innocuous. It's just vaporizing. But
Hash.
Yeah,
Hash.
but it was hash oil in the pen. It was nuclear.
Pretty sure Joe Rogan's smoking some rich people weed.
God,
I
man.
smoked with him one time in a parking lot in Irvine. Right before I was with Ryan Sickler. Ryan always has good weed, and we met Norm, and we were about to go in, and he smoked. Dude, he's like such a comfortable comic. Like with any he doesn't need hey, I need some time alone to get my mind right before this.
Right.
Yeah.
That we're in the parking lot. He takes a fucking monster hit of strong weed, and he starts coughing enough to make
no.
like a tear come where you're like, whoa. And then we walk into the Irvine Improv, and they're announcing him. He just walks on stage, and he just starts talking about the soda he's drinking, and killing with it.
Yeah.
Like just off the top of his head. Just
I didn't see this, and I'm not familiar with the comedian, but I've seen comedians do that. They just talk and funny. Corey Holcomb is one of those people. Who else is like that? There's just so many different comedians that can just go off the top. Dave Chappelle, of course. Bill Burr, he just talks and funny. And so is Tom Segura. And who else? Who else is in here? These are all like monster comedians to me.
totally comfortable.
He's one of the funniest guys ever.
Him and Stanhope changed the way I did this next special. This next special was like because I love those guys that grow. You know, that when you see them, they're not doing their like. There's nothing wrong with it, but like doing the exact same type of stuff they did in the last one. They're just changing the names a little bit.
Right. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And I called Stanhope maybe one of the most mind-bending days of stand-up. Just when you said that smell thing, where your brain goes, wait, what the fuck? I called Stanhope one day, and he was like, hey, what are you doing? He was like, drinking a vodka and grapefruit juice, trying to write a knock-knock joke. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm thinking of funnies, goofs, you know? Trying to write a knock-knock joke. We got to be as funny as those guys, right? I was like, yeah. And he goes, so we could write one, couldn't we?
Yeah.
He was like, let me tell you what I got. And he's like, reads a couple knock-knock jokes. And I was like, yeah, why the fuck aren't we fucking with the format? And then Norm, I see Norm, and Norm has the best joke. I'm going to tell you the joke is that great. It's the best joke.
Is he still doing it?
No. Norm, this for me was like, why aren't we sometimes taking a step back to take a step forward, right? Norm has a joke. He goes, I got a new neighbor. I see the neighbor, and I said, hey, neighbor, what do you do for a living? And the neighbor says, Norm, I'm a professor of logic down at the University of Science. And Norm says, what's that? He goes, well, Norm, it's hard for me to explain. It's easier to me to just show you what I do. Norm, do you have a doghouse? And Norm goes, I do. And he goes, well, then you must have a dog, logically. And he goes, I do have a dog. And he goes, all right. And if you have a dog, logically, I can assume you must have a child. Do you have a child, Norm? And he goes, I do have a child. He goes, well, if you have a child, logically, I can assume you must be married to a woman. Are you married to a woman, Norm? And he goes, I am. He goes, Norm, then logically, I can assume you're a straight white male. And Norm goes, wow, that's amazing. So the next day, Norm's down at a bus stop having a cigarette, sees another one of his neighbors. The neighbor says, Norm, did you meet the new neighbor? He goes, yeah, I did. He goes, what's he do for a living? He goes, he's a professor of logic down at the University of Science. He goes, what is that? And he goes, well, it's hard for me to explain, but it's much easier for me to show. Guy goes, yeah. And he goes, yeah. And Norm goes, hey, do you have a doghouse? He goes, no. And he goes, well, then you must be a faggot. Why?
Great joke.
It's a great joke. Why aren't we, like, we're all funny. Like, why can't we
Because
just...
that's a problematic word, and it's banned.
Oh my God.
He's such a piece of shit. He's such a piece of shit.
You're like, why can't we say it?
Right.
No.
I know, but it's just
Why can't we say it? I believe in free speech, but let's go.
like that.
I can't make jokes like that.
Oh, it was, dude. It's like one of the. It's like
a great joke.
It's a great joke, but like that old school joke writing, we all stepped away from. But like, what if we could tether ourselves to it a tad bit in what we're doing now?
Norman does that. Mark Norman does jokes like that.
Mark Norman does, but like stand-up going, I'm writing knock-knock jokes just for like a writing exercise. Where you go, what if you just wrote like a banger knock-knock joke?
You know what's funny when they hype the joke up and you still laugh, okay? All right. You know, that's how good that joke was. I had no idea Norm was such a monster, okay? That was hilarious. And this video has 3 of my favorite people to listen to from a comedic standpoint, okay? Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, and Joe Rogan, okay? And Joe Rogan for a lot of other things too. I just like the way his brain works. I'm a Joe Rogan fan. So, but I do need to check out the podcast. I don't listen to the podcast often, so most of the time when I get to hear it, you guys see me react to it, all right? So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, check out my Patreon below. I get a lot of my requests from there, and there's content on there that is not on my YouTube page. I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.